Our focus is to build something for decades to be here. So there's a lot that's going to go into this facility. And to see this come full tilt for the public, there's nothing better than that.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Kavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, community development, and workforce development. Learn more at bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org. Today joining us on The Vault is Jodie Adams and Kevin Shu. Welcome. We're delighted to have both of you today and to have a really exciting conversation.
We have a pretty awesome conversation planned today because it's like this hot commodity thing right now, pickleball.
Well, we have really, it's about racket and paddle sports. In the country right now, the hottest sports are racket and paddle. Mm-hmm. And so tennis is at 23.6 million people.
Wow.
And pickleball's at 14.9 million people throughout the country. So we're pretty excited about this.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jodie, we know that just doing some research on you, that tennis has been a long-lived thing for you within your life. So can you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you found the passion for tennis and other sports, and then how that's gotten you to now where you are today?
Actually, I grew up in Springfield, Missouri, and I was fortunate enough to be eventually as a career the director of parks for city county parks. And what was really exciting about that is I grew up as a park kid. So I grew up on the tennis courts there in Springfield, Missouri. I played a lot of different sports, basketball and different things, but tennis held on, and then eventually I did go to the pro tour. And I left Wimbledon to take my job as an entry-level manager of the Springfield Greene County Park Board.
Wow.
And so the rest is history. I was there 37 years.
Wow. And then just worked your way up, it sounds like.
I did, and, I was lucky to play Division I college. I was an Elite Eight athlete and made the championship rounds of Elite Eight. And, I knew that tennis could be a great career, but I also knew that my heart was with parks once I started working with parks and kids and families.
Yeah, and you, if I'm not mistaken, you're like a multi-Hall of Fame inductee too.
You've done your research. Yeah, I've been very fortunate, from a playing career to an administrator. Mm-hmm. I've been involved as a referee for 30 years in volleyball and high school and college. And I was just very, very involved with development. My colleagues in Missouri, I had so many great people to work with, but then nationally, I was able to go to eventually be the president of the country overall parks as the president of National Recreation Park Association. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people help along the way and guide.
So what was that like, just that career track and that journey? I think for our listeners pickleball, tennis, like racket sports, they're not new, but it seems like there's a new excitement and popularity around them. And so for those that maybe aren't as familiar, like what was that like growing up and doing tennis and doing all of these sports to now? Now you're working in it and very humble, but like what was that like?
Well, what was amazing is I grew up when tennis was the number one sport and most popular sport in America in the 70s. We actually ran out of courts. And we ran out of courts in this country. And I can say that because we had to start building courts fast to deal with the demand. And again, you're dealing with a sport that's 115 years old. So 5.9 million players have joined the game in the last 2.5 years.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So that's how fast tennis is growing to that 23.6 million. Pickleball. My gosh, we all know about that. Well,
Yes, we do.
I'm certified to teach in both of those sports. And
We need to come take a lesson.
Hey, anytime. But the bottom line is pickleball, it grew exponentially 115%. So that it was amazing in the last 2 years. So then it went from 8 million up to 14.9 million.
Wow.
So I hope everybody can grasp that's a lot of growth, a lot of people of several million within the last 2.5 years in these two sports.
And this is across the country.
This is
the
across the country. We are feeling it here. I mean, we have on just the high school teams 150 kids that are going out for our high school teams that are just right here in the Billings area. We filled JV teams. There's more players than that. So when you see that amount of growth, it's pretty daunting to everyone. We went to Hardin, Montana, just down the road. They had 60 kids go out for their tennis team.
Wow.
So that's wonderful
That's
to see
exciting.
the engagement.
What do you think attributed to the renewed interest in these sports?
I believe the pandemic. I think the pandemic really had an effect because you could be on a court and you were more than 6 feet away.
Yeah.
And you really could play and still communicate with another person. So it gave you the space needed, but it gave you the activity and
That
physical
social
activity.
connection that everyone was craving during that time.
That's right. And so, these sports lend itself with a racket or a paddle and a ball. You were far enough away and everything was safe.
Yeah.
So Kevin, what's your tie into all of this? I didn't get to do deep research on you.
Understood.
So,
And it's
yeah.
not as impressive as
Okay,
Jody's
it's
background.
okay. We want to hear it anyways.
My position with sports facilities companies, if you guys are aware of what we are, our mission is to improve the health and economic vitalities of the communities we serve. So what that means is, on my side, I provide feasibility reports. So Jody and the group from Billings Tennis Association came to us asking if we wanted to build a tennis pickleball facility. What does that look like? How many courts is that? What will that cost? How much financial performance will it be operationally sustainable? Is there economic impact? Potential partnerships. So we come in, we've been working with the group for about 8 months and provided that feasibility study, narrative report, lots of data, lots of information from our end. And provided that and work with Jody and the team. They've been great. Our connection with Jody has also led us to a really good partnership with USTA as well, which is exciting for us.
Can you tell us what USTA is?
United States Tennis Association.
Okay, thank you. And so did you grow up playing racket sports?
I grew up playing everything I could.
Cool.
Yeah.
So kind of similar love for just sports.
Sports and recreation. Yeah, it kept me out of trouble.
Okay.
My parents would throw me into things. Back then, the sports business, the business of youth sports and recreation wasn't what it was today. So it was a lot of sandlot stuff, right? You go out and you play. You find a field and you play sports outside, and we did that with tennis too. We played handball. We did whatever we could get our hands on. But that led me to studying sports. So sports management. I got my bachelor's and master's degree in sports management. I did a lot of sports business, ticket sales, things like that, until I found parks and recreation, which I didn't even understand, to be honest. But that was
a huge career field.
Didn't know it was an avenue. And I started there by probably my mid to late 20s or so, and got hooked. And actually, it's interesting connecting with Jody here with her position in Billings, because I work remotely out of Missouri and worked with Jody for, saw Jody
decades.
speak at conferences and stuff. Yeah, so it's pretty cool to get reconnected.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is new. And I think it's like newer. I grew up in a small town, but so like racket sports weren't really a thing besides badminton. And that was like in someone's backyard with like fake rules. I probably couldn't even
House
tell you
rules.
Yeah,
House
exactly.
rules.
Depending on where you were at. So I just think it's so interesting for you guys to be doing this work. So can you talk a little bit about what the work is that you are referencing that you are doing here in our community?
Well, we do this nationwide, and we're working on 30 facilities throughout the country. Again, I'm a USTA national consultant, my field of Parks and Recreation and in business. I also was a professor at Missouri State University, so I'm a retired professor from that university. And we were into racket and paddle sports, obviously, with classes and developed curriculum to work with that. When you bring all that together, we see real potential here in Billings, Montana, because not only that, we understand that Billings, Montana is deficient on indoor facilities. So that's why we're starting with indoor facilities. We ran out of courts. We have so many players that we're starting sometimes at 7 in the morning and finishing at 11 or 12 at night.
Oh my
so
goodness.
That's how much court usage is going on here. And that's indoors. Well, that's happening sometimes outdoors too. So we really needed to address building more court space for tennis and pickleball in this community. And that assessment is coming through the Sports Facilities Company. We wanted a neutral party to come into our community, look at the metropolitan area, look at the state. You know, where could we go from here if we build a state-of-the-art facility here? What has been great is the growth potential is unsurmountable. It's an amazing amount that is ahead of us, and feel free to address that.
Yeah, so within our study, looking at Billings, it's interesting because we do this across the country for a number of facilities and another number of communities. We average on the advisory side about 300 studies a year.
Oh, wow. Wait, can you tell me how many people that pull those together, just like staff time for the like per study? Because that's a lot of studies.
Yeah, so the way we're set up, I'm an account executive, so I'll lead the project, but we have our advisory department's made up of about 12 people.
Oh, wow. So like a robust team size. Research
analysts, writing analysts, back in Clearwater. So a very thorough team. And they've been doing this for years. I mean, they were founded in 2003. And so it's been perfected over the years. I never want to say perfected, but
there's always room for improvement.
Margin for error, right?
That's right.
And we build that into our studies. But to speak to the opportunity here, Billings is a growing community. There's seasonal factors to at work here, right? The climate. When you have outdoor facilities, that's great for 6-7 months. I mean, if we were talking about snowing today, maybe. Yeah. So the need for indoor facilities rang true in our studies. Participation rates, we get into, how many participants are currently going in, what's the competition, how many facilities does Billings currently have accessibility to. So with all that, we factored in, and there's a lot of data and numbers in the study, but to what Jodie was saying, it bared out that there's a need for indoor facilities in this community. And our community engagements are really important to that too. We heard that over and over. People want to see this facility developed. So this is step one. What do you say, Jodie? 25%?
About 25% of the overall project. This is your first step to making sure that we're heading down the right path. And is there that need for this community to be engaged in that development? And we want to make sure that we are able to keep generations here. We want to make sure there's enough facilities for future families and their kids to grow up and really learn and be able to learn discipline and different factors that you learn through sports. So there's a lot that's going to go into this facility.
And it sounds like, and I'd love to dive into like the details of what the facility entails, but I think I'm assuming that's something that's also factored into this is that people come it's not just in Billings, like that but our catchment area of people coming from all across the state into the Wyoming, the Dakotas to come and play sports here in Billings. So like that regionality and that hub that we service, as we call ourselves a regional hub, but I'm assuming that plays a huge factor into this research and things that you're doing also.
It does. We have a section of economic impact. So that's non-local visitors coming in, how much they're spending, how many hotel room nights that's generating. That's a huge, that's sports tourism is a booming business. And so that's also in the report. And we see that as a tremendous opportunity here in Billings. Like you said, this is a hub. People are coming here. So.
And that's going to range from $200,000 a year up to over $1 million to $1.3 million a year that will come in to our businesses.
Wow.
And that's actually a very conservative number. I really appreciate the way that SFC and FSA. I like to use their initials here. But the bottom line is, what's beautiful about it, they're conservative. They don't overblow a revenue-producing situation. They really deal with the numbers factually that they know can be produced here, and that the business can be a fruitful business, that we can really run it and run it for long term. We're looking, Billings has gone in and out of 2 or 3 indoor situations with a bubble. Right now, Big Sky Tennis and Pickleball Center has basically been sold to a private entity out of California. That's all fine, but we want to make sure, and our focus is to build something for decades to be here and for generations to come, because you really, really don't want to embark on this type of endeavor at this level unless we can go ahead and really be pretty much assured that we're here for 5 decades from here.
Like a legacy company, a legacy structure.
You're exactly right.
Mm-hmm. So I want to get into the facility, but how long have you been in Billings, and what brought you here from Missouri?
Family. Okay. And I knew I'd moved to the mountains. I didn't know if it was going to be Montana or...
The mountains are calling and you had to go, right?
I just had to go. I had stayed in Springfield for over 60 years, and I don't mind saying that. And the bottom line is, I knew I'd moved to the mountains. I didn't know if it'd be here, Colorado. I have family around the West. But I landed here because I love the lifestyle here. I know it is a good community. I also knew that there was a lot of potential here. And it's ironic, the new superintendent of schools, I actually knew about before he ever came here, because his boss is our superintendent of schools in Springfield, Missouri. So
oh, wow.
That's how small world. They came out of Houston, city of Houston. So, I just knew that a lot of people were moving here. I had also known about Montana through the USTA. I was on the board of directors of the United States Tennis Association and the U.S. Open in New York. So I was working in New York for several decades. So I knew about the country. I knew about this state. And I knew we had potential. The other thing is, 10 years prior to coming here, I actually was asked to come here and look at your tennis facilities.
Oh, wow.
10 years ago. So I was here on a mission as a director to actually help consult with you all and help you 10 years ago. So I've come back, and now I live here, and I'm very happy I'm here.
We're glad to have you here.
Some would say you're better off in Billings.
You never know. We'll see. No, it's been great. I've really met some wonderful people here. And again, I see potential. I come from a park system that had over 100 parks and 40 facilities, and was a pretty robust department, as Kevin knows, of operating budget of $35 million. So we were... And I'm talking about revenue, $35 million, and $35 million operating. So we had almost 1,000 employees. So we were a very big part of the city-county system. What I see here is there is so much potential for growth. And so that's pretty exciting to me to see that opportunity, because it's a deja vu for me.
Yeah. So with that deja vu, what are some of those things that, like, in that experience of overseeing that large budget, staffing, those projects and all of those things, what are some of those big takeaways that you have from that experience?
Big takeaways is people need year-round activities. They really need the facilities to be engaged constantly for physical activity and mental activity and mental awareness. It's so important right now that we have sports for our kids to engage in, to really develop their skills as a citizen, as disciplined. They do better in school when they're active. We all know that. We've read those studies. I will tell you right now, a study just came out not too long ago, and our head of the USTA is Dr. Heinlein, Brian Heinlein, who is actually the NCAA head of medical for the NCAA. And he just came out and he said, if you play tennis, you will add 9.2 years to your life. And so when you start doing that in our society, That's pretty important. So these are lifelong sports with tennis and pickleball. When you ask, what do I see through that experience? The trails are very important here. They were important to us. We had over 100 miles of trails. You've got that here. It's so important. You have so many good foundations, but we do need some centers here. We need hub centers for activity. That can happen. It can happen. I know that we've ran into a little hiccup right now. We're a little bit slow on the starting point on that, but that doesn't mean we can't have future hub centers. And really, they're gathering centers for the community.
You talked a little bit, and I'd love to dive into it from both of your perspectives, doing sports growing up, and you talked a little bit about discipline, but what are some of those things that sports really taught you at a young age that have stuck with you through your life, your career, and the things that you're doing?
Well, really respect, and to respect your opponent, but respect too that, it kind of deals with the adversity. You deal with adversity on the court all the time, whether it's an influx of something that bothers you off the court that has your attention. You have to learn to be disciplined, to focus. And it really helps for someone to really dive into their practice. And you'll always hear that from athletes that made it to, like I said, making it to the pro tour. I knew practice was the key. It's not really game day. It's really before, is really how you make it to the top. And then the other thing is probably failure. It's hard for our kids some days to deal with failures, pressures, and really, I can tell you right now, it helped me to go through a sport and deal with the pressures I had at a very high level of building facilities at a very high level and working with the Olympic sports and different things, because I had dealt with pressure when I was a young child. I had dealt with being on stage as a young child. So I had already been through those things that I took into my adulthood that really helped me in business. Billie Jean King gave me the best advice. She said, remember, pressure is a privilege. And she wrote that book, Pressure is a Privilege. I realized that was a very amazing statement to make, because in business, if you think about it, it is a privilege to have pressure, because that means you're probably doing something of value. You're doing something to help people. So that one statement.
And too, in my research, I did find, so since you mentioned it, and then I want to hear from you, Kevin, you did receive the Billie Jean King Public Parks Tennis Person of the Year award also, which is a huge recognition and a huge honor that I want to talk to you about too.
I was very shocked 2 weeks ago. We were at our national meeting in Orlando, and I was really surprised because there's so many great people out there that are doing great work publicly. And with parks. And
a huge honor. So how to receiving that award, how did you feel? And were there things that, you thought of that came back to your, that you thought of that were oh, I haven't thought of that in years, and this award brought back to your memory?
Well, I believe I've gone full circle. I've been that park kid that went full circle to hopefully provide and serve people throughout this country and give back. And that's really my total focus right now, is all about giving back. I'm doing this work in Billings as a volunteer. I don't want to be paid for it. And, some people look at you like you're crazy. But the bottom line is, when you really care about society and you care about kids and you care about families, it's, to me, number one right now. And we need that in Billings, Montana. So winning this award, it's very humbling, but I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of people in this country doing great work for kids and what we're focusing on in parks.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congrats.
Kevin, over to you.
Yes.
Just to talk a little bit about, you talked about anything that you could do, sports. What are some of those things? I think we have a lot of listeners that listen in for business, community things, but also leadership. And I think you touched on a lot of those things that I played some sports too. And I reflect back on them a lot more now in the role that I have of like what it taught me. But I'd love to hear that from your perspective too, of what takeaways you took from sports.
Absolutely. So there's a lot to relate between growing up and playing sports at whatever level, professional or amateur, and business and going into the professional world. The biggest thing, and Jodie touched on it, is overcoming adversity. And that was something, and it's easy to say, but in reality, developing that grit to overcome failure, right? So if you put everything you can into it and you truly are passionate and believe it and you fail, right? Like this is my goal. I'm going to do it. I'm going to work every day as hard as I can. I've done it all right, and you still lose. How do you react, right? Do you quit? Do you kind of go into the circle? Do you blame other people? Do you start saying I can't because, or do you see it as a challenge and go back and rework it? And that lesson growing up and playing sports has translated really well into professional career, specifically in business as you go through and you're learning, right? The business is always changing and evolving, so you have to stay on top of that. But then also, how do you overcome the challenges when you do fail or you do something wrong or your company something happens that just isn't planned, right? And I think sports has done a great job of preparing us for that, and working in sports, there's a lot of, it's passionate, right? People grew up playing sports. You can fall into it, but typically they're former athletes or people that are interested in providing sports and recreation services. So yeah, I think growing up and with that mindset has really helped me in my professional area.
Thank you guys for sharing that. I think it's fun to reflect back on those things. So you guys have talked a lot about a facility and some of the work that you're doing here in the community that you've been on for a few months now, that you guys are working together on. Can you talk to us about what this whole project is?
Well, it's exciting because we know that we're looking at 6 courts, 6 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts to start out with. At one point, move down the road, maybe we can expand that to another 2 tennis courts and another 4 pickleball. But our total focus right now is 6 tennis courts and the 8 pickleball. Why? That lends us into hosting certain events. That is a certain level threshold that you have to really host anything from local to state to regional. And then if we want to go to a national level, we will have to have more courts, but we can host certain things with even colleges and universities. And we hope that some of the teams, example is, with this amount of courts, we would have enough courts to actually also bring back possibly the MSUB tennis teams.
Oh, nice.
And maybe we expand with Rocky Mountain College. And so, our goal is not only to start with young children and have them enter into the game, but also, how can we build success with that child? And hopefully they'll end up going to college or some type of trade school or something, that we hope that we instill that education piece with this. There's a program that we would look to bring in with that amount of courts called National Junior Tennis League. It was developed by Arthur Ashe and Charlie Purcell, and that was 50 years ago. There's 250 chapters in this country.
Wow.
Very successful. If you look at the success rate of children going through that program, it's tennis and exercise and mental training. But again, I do want to emphasize the mental training because that is so important for all of us through our adulthood. That a child can learn to departmentalize their emotions and different things. Now, that's not going overboard on control or anything, but really departmentalize different things that
help
are
them
challenges.
handle stress better.
Yeah, exactly. And work step by step to get through those stressful times. But this National Junior Tennis League has really provided numerous opportunities for hundreds of kids to go forward and learn and be tutored during their training sessions. They'd come in before school starts, and then after school programs, and have teachers and have exercise. And then they've also moved on to have scholarships with college. So there's a lot of kids that are being served by that sport. We hope pickleball will end up doing the same thing. I work with both sports nationally and in regional and state level. And I really hope that these are going to be the pathways for our children to be able to play individual sports and play team sports, because those are team sports too when they play doubles or they're playing on a team. And many people think these are individual sports. That's just one piece of it. They're really team sports if you really look at those racket and paddle sports.
And then this would be an indoor facility allowing that season to be all year round.
Absolutely.
A little bit instead of just our Fontana weather, which welcome, you came on a rainy day, but it's normally beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
I keep hearing
Kevin
that.
says, you keep telling me that, but for 3 days.
That's what I hear.
Well, and I think too with the facility, we have an opportunity. People in our public hearings that we had in August with sports facilities companies, they really wanted to see sports performance part of that. Mental and physical training. They wanted to see a fitness area component. We have that in there. Wow. We have 4 flex rooms, which can be classrooms, could be social, gatherings during events. We also have in there a medical component that could be with sports medicine or any type of therapy or anything like that. We have in there a pro shop. You've got to have your equipment, but, you may have to have a racket strung, different things like that. We have food and beverage in there. People wanted to have a gathering place, so we have food and beverage in there. So it's really going to be a community hub of activity.
And job creation, too, just within that.
Absolutely.
So it's like those kids can go and play there, but maybe they can also work there, too.
Yes, absolutely.
While they're going to school and or after, and start a really great career. Learning those things with food and beverage, like hospitality, court management, event management, all of those things.
Absolutely. And we certified 8 brand new tennis and pickleball professional teachers last year. Last August, we had a major national training here. Wow. And we have 8 brand new teaching professionals in this community.
Oh, that.
So we've been working on.
Yeah. I'm like, Kayla and I need to go take a pickleball lesson.
Pickleball
or tennis.
Or tennis. I'll have to tell you my crazy tennis story after this. But.
Okay, it's a deal.
Where if the people listening today, they want to know, like, how do I look at this plan? How do I follow along? Like, where would they go for that? Really
appreciate you asking that. We're going to post all of this on the Billings Tennis Association website.
All right.
And we're going to go ahead and post the whole plan. And we will also post a letter that's the face of this plan, because it's important you read that, because there are aspects in there that we'll be adding to the revenue side of this plan. Okay. So it will really give you a feel of how we're continually working to get this facility here. So it will be on the BTA website. And then we also have contact numbers on there.
Oh, awesome. If somebody wants to play tennis or wants to get connected with one of those certified pickleball instructors, how could they get connected? Is it at the same website or?
Yes, you can go to the website and obviously use the contact numbers, and we can connect you with one of those instructors. You can also go to Big Sky, the racket and paddle facility here with tennis and pickleball, because we also are working in concert with them. But again, this biggest concern right now, that facility has been sold to a private company that's going to build high-rise apartments, and we're really not sure if that's going to stay or not. So right now we have it, but we're not sure long term. But you can contact that facility, because that's where we meet as the Billings Tennis Association right now.
Okay.
And a lot of the high school coaches are there, and so we all work together.
That's great.
And the timeline of this ideal project is that on the website too, like what the timeline is?
It's not a timeline on there yet.
Yeah.
That will be the next step, is that, like I said, we're 25% in.
Yep.
That'll be the next 25. The projecting is, where are we at? Where can we go and not only the financial end of it, it will be with the architects and different steps like that for the next part of it.
So you guys talked about, so you're working on this Billings project. Are there other projects that you're working on? 300 plus, it sounds like.
Not me personally.
But your organization.
Yes, SFC, yes.
Yeah. And then are you, Jodie, working on other things outside of Billings right now?
Not really. I was asked at one point to work a little bit with the rec center, but it was already so far down the road and it was already going to vote. So really, I moved here too late to really be really involved with any of that. This is really the first projects I've been involved with for Billings. So we've jumped off the bridge and we're right in. And, but it's a good community. So let's see what we can get done.
What makes you most excited about this project?
I think it's because of the national trend of development and that we have so much potential of development. We have a lot of players now, but their projections that they have worked with, the United States Tennis Association has a very sophisticated, not just GIS system, but they actually know who's all playing now. They can project out the playership. So you were right. We're crossing state lines coming in. We already have players coming in from Wyoming now. So what happens, when we develop a facility of this scale, that's a whole nother ball game and will even exacerbate. It will be huge what the development will be.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the projections. We're talking 5 times what we have right now. That could happen within the first 5 years, to 10 years. So it's pretty amazing when we just need the facilities. Yeah. That's really what it's coming down to. We've got the workforce. You've already addressed the kids can work, but we've got the professionals trained now. We've just got to get the facilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for me, coming to a community that needs these facilities gets me excited, right? And we do this, and I mentioned the 300 projects. Obviously, each community is different, and at times there's a lot of data, a lot of research, but there's not necessarily the same kind of turnout or performance that we're reflecting in these numbers right now. And then additionally, we talked about being on site in the fall and reaching out to the community. We held, Jodie, correct me if I'm wrong, about 4 on-site, in-person community engagement sessions. And then after that, remotely, we had a number of community engagement sessions. And every major partner, every big community partner that you would think of, the school district, universities, the local municipalities, Visit Billings, we're all a part of those, in addition to the just general public. And we don't always get that kind of engagement. And so from our end, when we come into a community and that level of excitement and that willingness to come forward and be a part of something is really exciting. And we're thrilled to be a part of it because it's not always the case, right? So this is really exciting for us.
Yes, it can definitely be a big hurdle to have to go through. So we're always really excited that our community is always willing to be involved for the betterment of our community. And I think that's what makes Billings such a special place, is because not only do you have all of those resource partners, government partners, but you have such a buy-in from the community, and that's really cool.
And I think we see that not just, in a lot of things, but like air service is one too. Like we're working on some match grant things, and our community has stepped up and said yep, we'll do it. What do you need? And that's not the case everywhere. And so I think Billings is really lucky to be in that place. And it sounds like tennis, pickleball, racket sports are just on the up and up. Yes. And the appeal and the excitement around it, like students are in it and excited, and you just see a growth in those numbers. So that just further solidifies the need for a facility like that. And I think it sounds exciting to us just working in economic development of this is like a catalytic project and what's going to spur after it, what's going to come up around it and continue to grow in that. Maybe it's specialty tennis, small businesses.
That's right.
For your outfits and your gear and things like that. Like that's so important. And I just think projects like this are exciting, and to have people volunteering their time because they're so passionate about it. We're very lucky in the community to have you here.
Appreciate that. But again, if you did not have the foundation, it would be very, very difficult to even embark on this. But Billings has a foundation. It has the people that can do this. We can do this. And that's why we've embarked. Billings Tennis Association paid for the study to be done. That's the kind of community spirit that we have here. So that's really, it's pretty easy to put passion with that.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, we've really enjoyed having you guys on with us today. We like to end each episode with some rapid fire questions, but before we do that, we'll just hear a quick message from a sponsor.
Hi, this is Shannon Hahn with the Department of Transportation and the Small Business Program. I'm here to talk to you today about the DBE and the SBE programs. The DBE program is for disadvantaged small businesses, so that's minority and women, and the SBE program is for non-minority and non-women-owned businesses. These programs provide business assistance to contribute to the growth and self-sufficiency of businesses in the transportation industry. Services include business skills development, training, networking opportunities, bonding assistance, and much, much more. So if you're a highway-related business, please go to our website. You'll see what the eligibility criteria is at mdt.mt.gov. You can call our 1-800 number, which is 800-883-5811. So give us a call. Thanks.
Thank you guys for being here with us today. This has been such a fun and exciting conversation to have with you. Our first rapid fire question I have is to those listening, our audience that are listening in, what advice do you have for those early that are starting out in their careers and to young athletes? What advice would you give them?
I can tell you practice. Not only do you read everything you can read, learn all the skills you can learn, but really practice. I used to, before I would give a speech or speak at a conference or as president of NRPA or on the board of USTA, I always practiced before I went on stage. And just remember, too, people are always watching at all ages. They're always watching you.
I think that's great.
Yeah. For me, for young people getting into the industry or whatever industry they're in, do everything. Do as much as you can. Don't say no. Say yes to everything. As much as you can, and you don't want to get into people's finances, but those early jobs aren't going to pay a lot, right? I mean, I think we all kind of know that. Don't worry about that early on. To whatever extent you can put that aside, it's experience over finances early on, and put everything you can into those early experiences, because that's how you build a network. That's how you build opportunities, and you meet professionals, and you move up. So that would be mine. I
really like both of those things and relate to some of those in different ways too, starting out. So thank you guys for that. Kayla has our next one.
I have two.
Okay,
I'm going to do two. Okay, so pickleball. I mean, it's like, it came out of nowhere, it feels like left field, and has just blown up. What's the appeal? Like, why all of a sudden?
Well, it's funny you say out of nowhere, because I remember playing pickleball. I'm 41 years old, and in high school we did pickleball, so I was 17. So it's been around. Accessibility, I think, and Jodie, you'll have more insight than I will on this, but I think the ability for people to come in and continue playing racket sports. So it's a shorter of a game. It's also easy when in the Parks and Rec field when it first started up, we transitioned parking lots to pickleball courts, right? And you can put a lot in a small amount of space. So now you have accessibility to play, and you can grow a bigger reach. And from there, like you said, it's a fun sport. It keeps you active for older folks, but also younger folks. We're seeing that the demographics are changing as for participation as well. So the ability for it to grow and be accessible to everybody in a city or an area is, to me, and also it's a fun sport. So then it just keeps growing and growing.
You know, the sport really has been around since 1965. And so it really took hold when people realized they could really have a social aspect to it. It's a quick game. You're playing to 11. You got to win by 2. And the bottom line is you can have a lot of games quickly within it and really have a lot of rotation as part of the game. So it's very attractive. And then the other thing is your racket eye hand with the paddle and the ball is very simple. And everybody keeps in mind it's a wiffle ball. Because I think sometimes we get so serious in sports. Well, let's just face it, pickleball is fun because it's quick, it gets you out there quickly, but you also can play fast and you can be with your friends. The same is in tennis. We have short game tennis that literally you can play quickly and have that social aspect. So that's what I see really happening with all this is the social aspect is really coming into play as much as the physical and mental aspect of the games.
All right. So in your guys' opinion, pickleball or tennis, what would you choose to play?
Oh, now come on.
Jody, go first.
No, really, I like them both, and I'm not playing the fence. I just like them both because I like the eye-hand concept. I really like that aspect of keeping active and making sure that I can make that quick decision at the last minute. It's such a great mental aspect when you have racket and eye contact or racket and paddle contact, and it keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
It keeps you active and sharp.
Quick movement.
My answer will be riding the fence on this one. However, I will say I played pickleball last. I haven't played tennis in years. I actually played, or I don't play either sport consistently. I recently just played pickleball for the first time, I think, since I referenced high school a couple weeks ago back in our home office in Florida. So that'll be my answer.
All right, pickleball.
And right now, we've got to keep building singular facilities because we have so many people playing both. We got to have more courts.
It's an exciting time.
More courts.
I like it.
Our last question is, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I'll just say pressure is a privilege. I'm going to go back to that one. I'm going to
read that book. It sounds very
well.
cool.
I used it when I was under, last 5 years I was in Parks and Recreation as a director. We built 72 projects in 5 years.
Wow.
It's basically one a month. We're either planning, implementing, or opening a brand new facility. We were putting in $200 million worth of infrastructure in our park system. The bottom line is, when you have that type of development, the pressure was great. I kept reminding myself, I am very fortunate to have this opportunity to be able to do what I'm doing and to see this come full tilt for the public to be able to engage. There's nothing better than that.
Oh.
Yeah, for me, I got this early on in probably my early to mid 20s was to be hyper accountable personally. So you're in charge of your reactions. You're in charge of everything. That we all know that's not necessarily true. Things are going to come at you, but that was the mindset. That was somebody recommended that. It was an old boss of mine. And it really stuck to me to the point where I did some reading and leadership trainings and things like that, to where you are accountable for everything that happens and how you react to that and the way things do come at you that you can't control, but your mindset needs to be that you can control. And if you don't, then you react a certain way, right? But you have to be accountable for your actions, and it'll go forward from there. So that was a really key piece of advice early on in my career.
I think both of those are great. Well, thank you guys. So if people want to connect with either of you individually or with your organizations or things, how do they connect? Website, social?
Yeah, we're at social. No, not for me.
Okay. No social.
I don't have
any. LinkedIn?
I have a LinkedIn. That's true. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
You can look me up on LinkedIn. And then Sports Facilities Companies. Our website is sportsfacilitiescompanies.com.
Cool.
Probably LinkedIn is the best.
LinkedIn?
For me, I would say. Because I'm on my third retirement and I own a consulting company, so I'm moving pretty fast.
Yeah,
still.
It sounds like it from our, and
having
it's great.
A lot of fun.
Well,
that's the best part. It's the fun part.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for all you're doing with the community, and we look forward to seeing the progress over the next little while. So thanks for joining.
I guess we should say we'll see you on the courts.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at The Vault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye. Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky economic development.org.